It's time for Lefties Losing It. Now, here is a rational, considered opinion about geopolitics, about the conflict in the Middle East, delivered in a sober, eloquent manner.
No! 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 Because hundreds of thousands of people are starving! Babies and mothers and grandfathers are starving to death! Because there are thousands of trucks of food and diapers and baby formula behind the f***ing wall! And Israel won't let them in!
I think we all learned something there. Let's move along now to this totally sane and rational lady who just can't understand why those around her are happy with the economy booming, with crime being down, with the border crisis being resolved. Perhaps therapy will help.
Like, am I supposed to go to therapy now? Because I don't understand what I'm supposed to do with all of the anger and the hatred that I feel right now. But I feel like if I go to therapy, all they're going to say is the same, like, do what's in your bubble of control. You can't control. I know this. I know this. I have been trying to control what I can control since 2016. And every effort I put in and everything I do makes no difference. The world and the people around it keep getting worse.
Let's go to the lefty heartland of Portland, where for weeks now Antifa types have been protesting outside an immigration and custom enforcement facility, and it was all fun and games until it wasn't.
Shoot at you, and my dear, that's fine with me. While the cops do this, I'll shoot it
Your feelings hurt!
Yep, they got sick of your nonsense, but this has to be the best moment out of Portland in recent weeks and involves the ratbag crowd of lefty agitators outside the ICE facility being told to obey the law, but listen to the voice giving the orders. This is superb.
Restricted area and maybe something to detention or to depart the restricted area. Thank you. This is the Federal Protective Service. The facility is closed and not open to the public. Stay out of the area of the driveway to allow for vehicular traffic. Remain on the sidewalk or across the street. Everyone must leave this restricted area and may be subject to detention or arrest for failing to depart the restricted area. Thank you.
The economic data continues to be good for the US, good for the Trump administration, with the latest GDP figures coming in above expectations.
The GDP price index was only 2%, and the expectation was 2.2. In other words, we have an economy growing at, what do you say, 3%? We have inflation at 2%. That's the best of both worlds.
Joining me now is the president of the Centre of the American Experiment and the founder of the popular Powerline blog, John Hinderaker. John, the data is all positive for now, very different to what we were told would happen with all the doomsday predictions we had not too long ago about Trump's tariffs crashing the stock market, the job market, causing a recession.
Yeah, those predictions have not come true, Rita, and there is no reason to think that they are going to. You know, some of these commentators like to talk as if tariffs are a brand new thing. And until Trump came along, we lived in a world of perfect free trade. But of course, that's not true. There have always been tariffs, there have always been other trade barriers. And what Trump is trying to do is to negotiate better deals for the United States, a more level playing field. And in the long run, that can only be good for our economy. I would add too, Rita, that as part of these trade deals, other countries are committing to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the United States. And that too can only help our economy.
How much credibility have the expert class lost here, particularly the economists? We saw yesterday figures released showing tariff revenue for July breaking a monthly record. Already we've had $150 billion collected in tariffs. The money's coming in. So far, we're not seeing inflation going crazy. We're seeing decent growth. How could the expert class get it so spectacularly wrong?
Well, they always do, Rita, when they're talking about Donald Trump. Isn't that right? I mean, we've seen prediction after prediction fail. But to be fair, you can get any opinion you want from some economist, right? Economists disagree
Yeah.
about just about everything. So the question is, which economists do certain newspapers and certain television outlets want to quote? But the ones that have been predicting doom certainly are looking very bad.
Well, President Trump's announced a relatively high tariff rate of 25% on India. This surprised a few people. We know Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi are very friendly, and the president did acknowledge India was a friend, but he explained he was imposing an additional penalty on the country because it purchases the majority of its military equipment from Russia. John, that's a very principled position to be taking again there from the president, and it's a notice to other countries looking to do deals with the US. It's not just the deal with the US, it's your other trade relationships that are going to determine what rate you end up with.
This is really interesting, Rita, and it illustrates the fact that Trump likes to use trade as an instrument more generally of foreign policy. So one of the things he's trying to do is to
Yes.
isolate Russia and isolate China. But what's going on here is that when a country buys its military supplies from another bigger, more heavily armed country, there's a tendency for it to align itself with that country. That creates relationships between your military and that country's military. And Trump doesn't like that. Trump wants the business here in the US, of course, but I think more importantly, he wants India firmly aligned with the United States in our camp. And I think that's really what's going on here.
Now, the last week has been enormous in foreign policy and in trade deals. We saw the massive deal with Japan, then the EU deal, which again shocked so many people. It seemed to just be win after win for the US. Is this Trump's best week of his second term?
He's had several good ones, Rita, but it's got to be a contender. I mean, that EU deal was stunning. Here in America, the press is kind of mocking Trump. He's going to Scotland to go golfing. Well, he walks away with this incredible trade deal with the European Union. I mean, it's a fantastic deal. And yeah, he's having a very good week. There's no doubt about it.
Now, this economic news isn't going to please Donald Trump, the White House. Earlier today, the Federal Reserve decided to keep its benchmark interest rate unchanged. John, Jerome Powell is proving to be a thorn on the side of this administration. How do you see that relationship going forward?
Well, it's interesting, Rita, because two members of the Open Market Committee dissented and voted against the chairman here. That's the first time that has happened since 1993. Wow. So what Powell is doing is definitely controversial. You know, he says he's concerned about inflation, especially he's worried that the tariffs might create inflation. You know, that's just wrong. Tariffs cannot cause inflation. They don't increase the money supply. You'll see selective increases in the prices of certain products. That'll depress the demand for those products to some extent, and some consumers will choose to buy other products instead. That is not inflation. And so it's hard to avoid the feeling that Powell is really trying to be a thorn in Trump's side, but I don't think it's going to last. I think before the end of the year, we're going to see the Fed cutting interest rates.
Now, before you go, we've heard that White House envoy Steve Witkoff is off to Israel. This is the first trip in almost 3 months for him. One US official told Axios the president wants to know more about what the humanitarian situation in Gaza is in order to know how to get more assistance to civilians in Gaza. John, how significant is this trip and what assurances will Witkoff be seeking?
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is a staunch ally of Israel, and that has not changed. I think what's going on here is that Witkoff wants to check out the situation in Gaza, where there's talk about starvation and so on, investigate it. And I think he's going to come back and report that the problem is being caused by Hamas. Hamas keeps shooting people who are trying to distribute food or trying to receive food. That's the problem, and I think that's what he is going to report to President Trump.
So you don't see any fracturing of that relationship between America and Israel?
I'm pretty sure not, Rita. I mean, Donald Trump is a solid ally of Israel. Mike Huckabee, the ambassador, was quoted on that earlier today. He said there is no daylight, there is no change in the relationship. It remains as strong as ever.
John Heinderraker, we always love having you on this program. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Rita.